What's up, y'all? This is DJ Esquire coming to you from a padded cell, waiting for a straight jacket, maybe. No, I'm just kidding. It's my podcast studio, and want to welcome you guys to tonight's workshop. Definitely thank you guys for checking in. Tonight, we're going to talk about beat juggling and go over some of the routines that I've created through my battling career, and just kind of give you guys some background stories and psychology around what I was thinking about when I came up with some of the more fun routines that I've been known for throughout the years. So definitely thanks for taking the time to check this out. And first off, I got to thank Electronic Music Collective for allowing me the space to talk to you guys tonight. If you guys are first timers, I'm a first timer too, so it's okay. Don't be shy. Welcome. And if you don't know about Electronic Music Collective, it is a DJ and music production school based in New York City and also online. And, we cater to all DJ types and all music production types. So if you're brand new to the industry and trying to dip your toes in, or if you've been in the industry and want to, sharpen up your skills, learn something new, talk to other DJs and producers in your industry, then definitely check out the Electronic Music Collective. We have some great instructors and mentors here that do all different types of DJing and production. So definitely is a great place to check out and sharpen up your skills a bit. So you can check us out at electronicmusiccollective.com and check out the classes that we offer. And if there's something specific that you want to work on, you can always hit up an instructor for a private lesson. So definitely check that out. And thank you again to Electronic Music Collective for having me here tonight. So let's dive into the beat juggling world a little bit. And when I think about beat juggling, I think about back when I was first absorbing this battle culture, and we're talking around like the mid to late 90s, where, I would go out and, listen to DJs at a battle and just be amazed by what was going on the stage from the beat juggling perspective. Especially, it was just something about hearing DJs just rearrange tracks and kind of making their own tracks, almost like producing live on stage with vinyl. It was, an amazing thing to see, and especially when you would add some of the flair and the, maybe body tricks and some of the other techniques that have developed over the years. It was just something that always appealed to me. It got to a point where when I would go to a battle, I would bring an audio recorder with a cassette tape and just record everything that I was hearing so that I could go back later and listen on my Walkman or listen in my, my car radio with a tape deck and just absorb as much as I could of everything that I was hearing. And it kind of shaped the way that I wanted to create my own routines, because literally all I had to remember all of the great routines that I was listening to during those times was the audio. So I was mainly focused on trying to create something that had a real production like value to it, or, sound like music or sound like an actual song that I've created live on stage. So, the one thing about DJs and battle DJs, turntablists, however you want to call them, is that everyone is trying to find their own unique style and sound when they're coming up with their routines. And it gets to a point where you'll hear a song, or you can say the name of a song, and there'll be a DJ's name associated with it based on a routine they created. First person that comes to mind immediately is somebody like DJ Precision from the Executioners, where if you mention the song "Drop It Like It's Hot" by Snoop Dogg, his name is gonna be associated immediately with that song based on the routine that he created. And when any other DJ tries to create a routine with that song, it's always gonna be compared to his, because his was so amazing at the time that nothing could really, top it. So you would always find yourself competing with that next routine or that next individual that created something with a song. So I always wanted to stand out a little bit by trying to find music that people wouldn't flip commonly. So the easy thing to do is to try to find the biggest hit that's on the radio and try to flip it. But I always tried to stay away from that. I tried to stay with songs that were familiar to people and had some funky grooves or bass lines and things that I could manipulate, but not necessarily, what's the hottest track that's on the radio, because it's probably what every other DJ is trying to flip at the same time. And I'm not trying to compete with everybody for one song. I'd rather just go out and find my own song, and then I'll be the only person that'll flip it. So just kind of the thought process that I always thought about when I heard other DJs. There'd be a song that'd be attached to them, or certain styles that would be attached to them. Definitely DJs like Mr. B out in California, or even like a new DJ like Delightful out in Bulgaria, is like DJs that are developing have developed their own styles and sound very unique and not like anybody else. So when you're thinking about coming up with routines, think about trying to, take influence from other DJs, but definitely try to make something that is very unique to yourself. So with that, I want to talk a little bit about a couple of the routines that I created, and using the song Higher by Bauer and Just Blaze and Jay-Z. So a little quick background on that was I came up with the routine just like a couple of weeks after winning the US finals for DMC in 2013. And, that experience was really crazy. And one thing about the DJ battle world that you will learn is that you can have the best performance of your life and you won't even place at a battle. And you can also have one of the worst performances of your life and win the battle. So that's essentially what happened to me. I really was unhappy with my performance, but somehow I came away with the win, and that's just the way it works somehow. So coming off of that win, it was my thought that I needed to have something a little bit newer and fresher for the World Finals. So luckily, this song came out maybe like a week or two after the US Finals, and I decided to just, dip my hand in and try to flip it as well as I could, just to have something a little new and a little fresher going into the World Finals. So, what I want to flip to right now is a video of me performing the routine at the DMC World Finals. And then we'll come back and I'll give you a rundown on some of the techniques behind it. So, enjoy the vid, and I'll catch you in a sec.
You're now rocking with the best.
One thing I'll say about myself is I never perform a routine clean. So I think I did the routine cleaner in the eliminations than I did in the finals, but whatever. It is what it is. So let's talk about the routine and just some of the ways that I came up with the parts of the set. So again, with the the whole point of listening to the music and just trying to figure out what are the parts of the song that I want to use. This one was pretty simple, where I just wanted to use the very beginning of the song. So for pretty much the bulk of the routine, because there was just so much going on in the beginning of the routine from a musical standpoint that I wanted to try to rearrange. So I literally on both sides just queued up the same point in the song, which is the very beginning. So that's all I'm using, and I'm not even using that much of the song because I probably only use about maybe half of that for the routine. So the beginning of the routine, just like I talked about from the previous routine, is always to try to establish from an ear perspective what the song is. So to give the audience a little bit of a bounce and a feel so that they can get excited about the song before I actually break into the beat juggling portion of the song. So I just make sure that I play a couple of bars of the song on both sides, and then I just transition from one side to the next a little bit differently. So that's the amount of time I wanted to use for the very beginning of the routine, was just those two bars. But then it's just about, how do I want to jump into those 2 bars? I just don't want to play one side and then play the next side. So I came up with the idea of just utilizing a kind of physical pause. Initially, I wanted to do like kind of just a platter kill, but I found like doing a platter kill, and when I mean platter kill, I mean like just hitting the start stop on my turntable. But I found hitting the start stop button doesn't give me enough time to get back to where I needed to be. So I use just my physical motion to create kind of a stoppage of the song. So it's like just dragging my hand across the vinyl as I pass a drum. So it just kind of gives the illusion from an audio perspective of a turntable stopping. So then I had that part. I'm like, all right, that's cool. But then I need to get back to the very beginning of the track. So as the second side is running, I got the idea of doing some quick kind of offsets, just dropping in like I guess a quarter of a beat in between the two, and then rewinding the platter back to get myself as close back to the 1 of the song as I could, so that I could jump into the next segment of the routine. So now at that point, as I do that rewind, you'll notice I brought on the left side, I brought that left side back to the very beginning of the track. So that way on the left side, I'm totally queued up at the very beginning of the song. On my right side, I rewind it back, but after I release my left, it's going to give me enough time to actually just bring this back to the beginning so that I can do the next segment of the routine. So literally just that little pullback gave me the split second that I needed after dropping in the first beat on my left side to come back to the right side to drop in the next segment. So again, it was really about, how do I want to bring that next segment of the routine in? And I didn't just want to do like a basic loop back and forth. So yeah, that's cool, but it's kind of basic, so anybody can just back and forth. So again, just thinking back to all of the stuff that I was doing before, it involved a lot of off time dropping. So I would just like drop the first beat, but then drop the second one a little bit off time. So just like a quarter of a beat, a quarter of a note faster, so that way I can get into it. And again, even from thinking back to the Prince routine of using the idea of filling, like I still kept that concept over the years up until we're talking from a routine made in 01 to a routine made in 2013. So a 12-year difference of just kind of keeping that notion and that signature of myself consistent, where I use those fills to just add in where the beat may not have something, or just to give myself some sort of physical movement that I'm doing. I could do it without the fills, and there's enough going on in the song that would probably just let it just fine. But again, doing those fills give me a little bit more range, and let you know that I'm actually doing something up here. I'm not just letting 2 songs play. So doing those fills just gives it a little more, makes it feel a little more full. So then the next thing is, I do that a couple of times, but I need to find a way to end it. And just trying to, just running through the motions of like what type of patterns I can do. I'm thinking that I want to, again, taking that same kind of concept of the 4 and the 1 landing on the same side. My thought process is to find a way to end with the snare on my left and then come back to the 1 on my left. So, just trial and error, just came up with just a way to kind of take a 2-beat or 2-beat segment and just flip it so that I can get back to that 4th beat and that 1st beat. So literally just kind of letting the right side play out. I'll use a scribble on one of the sound notes, and then again using that kind of dragging stop. I stop that side, close my fader, my volume fader, and rewind back to the top so that I can drop into the 1st beat of the song again so I can get to the next position of the routine. Originally, I wanted to, again, utilize like a stop function. So I just found as I was trying to construct a routine, hitting stop didn't give me enough time to stop the record, rewind the record, start it up again, and then get into it. There was just a lot of time wasted in between. So just being able to physically kind of make a stop happen and then just easily rewind back with the platter still running, I can just get immediately into my next segment. So at that point, now I'm thinking about what the actual middle of the routine is going to be. And this is where a lot of the kind of use of technology came into play. What I noticed was as I was doing the stop, like that stop motion, and then bringing it back to the beginning of the routine, there's dead air. So I wanted to find a way to kind of, not have it be dead air. And it wasn't going to be me crossing over to the opposite side because I wasn't sure what is going on this side at that point. So there might be just like some weird noise and it might be off time and off structure. So I didn't want that to be the interference. So what I did was actually instituting the use of the echo effect within the actual Range 62. So I would set the echo effect to 1/2 note. So that way every half note after a sound is played, there would be an echo as it fades away. And then what you would hear is after I do the stop motion, you'd hear that sound, but it would echo out and it would kind of give the appearance of, there's still some sound happening before I get into the next crux of the routine. So you can kind of hear at the end of it, it's like fading out as I'm doing. At that point, once it fades out, I can rewind the record back to the beginning as that sound is being played and jump right into the next segment of my routine. So again, just the little things that I had to discover about the way I wanted the routine to sound. These are things that I didn't have access to from a vinyl standpoint because, in 01 creating prints that didn't exist. So now that I had this machine, I tried to find ways to utilize it to its to the best capacity that I could for the time being. So now I had that kind of setup. Again, talking about setup patterns, that was the setup pattern, and then now it's a matter of going into what the actual body of the routine is going to be. And it literally was, again, trial and error, just doing some form of looping and just trying to find ways to fill in those notes. And then that's where this segment came up. So now what I noticed at that point is once I came up with that, I was literally just kind of going back and forth on one side to the next. But for the illusion of doing more, I found that I could actually cross my hand over as I was doing that pattern, as opposed to doing it straight up. So I incorporated that kind of crossover just to give it a little more of a physical appeal as I was doing the set. So again, nothing really different that I'm doing. It's just me crossing over my hands, same pattern, but now it's just a little more of a physical aspect to it that I could use to give a little more to the audience as I'm doing the routine. And then adding a little bit more of the technology into it, I found that I wanted to use the loop rolling feature. So on the 62, there's a way to create automatic and manual looping. So I wanted to find a way that I could institute maybe a roll into the set. So just playing around with it, I wanted to find what loop roll made the most sense for me. So I went with a 1/8 of a loop note. So I would set up the 1/8 note and then try it out a couple of times. So at that point, it just gave like a really big sound, as my daughter hates this routine. So she's crying in the background. But so doing that 1/8 it just felt like a really good filler to kind of end the routine with, to extend the pattern with. So I would do that first initial pattern with the flip of the arm and then conclude it with utilizing the loop roll into the routine. And even in that part, again, something from the Prince routine where I was utilizing that pushing, where, it just gave a different sound than just kind of playing the song out. I would just push those sounds. And again, with the echo on top of it, it gave it just like a really big sound and a big reverb type of feel to it. So at this point, I was really happy with the way the routine was coming together, and then just trying to figure out what the next kind of concluding step is going to be. So as I listened through the song, there was the next segment down with that. So I wanted to find a way to kind of use that as the ending of the routine. So again, using that kind of filling type of technique, I just wanted to find the on this side and then use it to fill it in with the that was going on this side. So I'm catching the uhs on the right side, letting the uhs on the left side roll through, and creating like that triple type of sound. But again, I noticed like I can do that routine just going back and forth, moving the fader and the record, or I can do a little more where I can cross my arms over just to give a little more of a physical presence for the audience to see. And then I even threw in utilizing the volume fader to chop up those sounds as I'm going back and forth. So, and it's been a while since I did that. I'm losing my breath. But so yeah, that just gave it a little more of a physical appeal than just kind of moving the fader back and forth on those parts. And then coming towards the end, I tried to find a way to utilize a rewinding sound for the ending segment. So, and this even stems back, to the 2000s when I was listening to routines. I heard a lot of DJs that would use like rewinding of their records and getting those sound effects to create their drum patterns. And, I just tried to find a way to kind of utilize that in my own way. So it was just me rewinding the record, like playing the kick on one side, rewinding back to get to the snare on the opposite side, and then doing a lot of fills with my crossfader and my volume fader to fill in the rest. So then once I do that pattern a couple of times, I stop, and then the full end would be me actually doing just a small scratch segment with the sound sample, and then ending with the snare drum at the end. And again, with the fact that the echo was on, it gave a little bit more of a dynamic sound to the cuts I would do and the actual stopping of the routine for the end of the routine. So again, with sound segments, you have to know your limitations in terms of what kind of cuts you can do. So literally I just played around with a lot of cuts and just found that doing flares was the best type of technique that I could do for that sound segment. So then I would do just a couple of flares and then just double up, kind of scribble scratch on the two sounds, and then ending the routine by stopping with the start stop button. And then with that echo effect on trailing, it would lead to the end of the routine, and then I could jump into something else. So let me just run that back, and so you can hear it kind of in full. Something to that effect. So what you didn't see from the world final video is that I actually forgot to turn the echo on during that routine. So there was no echo. I'm pretty sure I got it right in the elimination round, which helped me get to the finals. But with all of the craziness that was going on during the finals, the little things you forget. But, when I do the routine live, I extended a lot more. I have an entirely another pattern that I've added on to it from the original pattern that I created back in 2013. So over a while, the routine got even longer and fuller. But just from the standpoint of trying to fill in 40 seconds of time just so that it could fit into a 6-minute routine, there was a lot of things that I had to like really cut down and condense. So if it was really quick, you don't really get the full blast of the routine because it was such a short time frame. But I wanted to make sure I hit on a lot of the strongest points that I came up with in the routine. Things like utilizing the echo, utilizing a loop roll, hitting that rewind, and just the little things like, physically stopping the record, things that, you wouldn't normally think about doing from just a vinyl standpoint, because at this point we had a little bit more of the technology in existence. So we had more opportunities to try things and more tools to try things with. So that's how the routine came about. Really happy with it from the 2013 standpoint, and even how long it took to develop it and where it lives today, even in its longer form. So yeah, those are a couple of the routines that I've come up with over the years, the thought process behind them, and a few of the techniques that I came up with to put them all together. Definitely, if you guys are trying to create routines and beat juggles of your own, take note of the music that you're listening to. Try to find something that you really like and that kind of speaks to you from that musical standpoint, and something that you can kind of put that producer hat on and try to flip it in your own way. Definitely take note of other DJs that have, created routines in the past, whether you've seen them in DJ battles or on Twitch or wherever you're getting your DJ fix from. Do not bite another DJ's routine. That kind of goes without saying, but I'm going to say it anyway. Don't bite another DJ's routine. Don't steal ideas verbatim from another DJ, but take note of what they're doing, take influence from it, and change it, flip it up a little bit, and try to make it a little more your own style. And maybe you got something that you can actually put out there for a battle, or showcase, or whatever you want to do. So with that, I want to say thank you to everybody watching, and a big thank you to Electronic Music Collective for giving me the space and the time to actually talk with you guys. If you guys aren't familiar with Electronic Music Collective, it is a DJ and music production school based out of New York City and also online. We offer classes to students of any skill level. So if you're a new beginning DJ and producer, or somebody who's been in the industry for a while and just want to learn something new or sharpen up something, definitely check out the Electronic Music Collective. We have some great instructors and mentors who have been in this game for a while. They're artists currently now, and love nothing more than sharing this knowledge of our industry with you guys. So definitely go to the website, check it out, electronicmusiccollective.com, and leave us a message, give us a shout, and definitely check it out. So with that, I thank you all again for joining tonight. My name's Esquire, and I'll check you out soon. Peace.